Welcome, everybody, to another rendition of The Lone Wolf Show. I'm The Lone Wolf, and I got a special guest. Well, actually, a number of guests. 6, I heard. 3 on camera now. A UK band, a Norse band, making waves, and they're called Galdorcræft. Galdorcræft, what's up, man? How are y'all doing in the UK?
Yeah, not too bad.
We're doing great.
Yeah, we're doing really well.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, no doubt, man. We've been hearing your music, man. It's really good. It's really good. I like it. I like the feel. Right off the bat, how did Galdorcræft come together?
It's something that we've wanted to do for a very long time. Me and Marie started putting the instruments together, writing primitive songs in the early days. But for a mutual friend, we got introduced to Matt. I got a drunken phone call about 3 o'clock in the morning. Never even knew who this dude was. And it all started from that, really.
It's one of those stories which is mostly centered around a lot of luck and a lot of, little things that have come together for one reason or another. I was chatting to a mutual friend. We didn't know each other at the time, but he asked me what kind of music I wanted to make, if I could make any kind of music, because I was doing other projects. And I said I wanted to do Anglo-Saxon pagan music using traditional instruments and Old English, which is obviously the language that was spoken in the British Isles at the time, predominantly. And he said to me, look, I know the guy you need to speak to. I've got a friend who wants to do the exact same thing. And I was like, what are the chances of that, of us living in the same county and town? And so I gave Kliff a call, and we basically started sketching out the rough ideas for the early song of Thala. And it felt right, and it started to come together, and we took it from there, and really it's just been a non-stop creative process since that point.
Yeah, just gelled from day one.
Yeah, definitely. But you could call it fate.
So it was fate that Galdorcræft are here, and there's 6 of y'all. And that's a lot of different musicians, a lot of different instruments. Do you always play together, or do you record separately?
Well, the writing process is done between the 3 of us mostly. The other 3 members are for filling out all the rhythm sections. There's a lot of rhythm work in our writing. There's a lot of layers of drums and shakers and bones and logs and all sorts. So we had to get these 3 fine fellows in to be able to do all these different layers of rhythms while we're obviously Matt's singing, Marie's playing lyre, I'm playing a lot of bowed instruments. So yeah, we needed to be 6 of us really.
Yeah, it does. I was explaining to somebody earlier that because they were asking a similar sort of question to yourself. The idea behind having the amount of people that we have in this band is the sound we are creating cannot be performed live unless you have that many people, because we want to maintain the authenticity. And we could just have backing tracks playing, sure, but the idea of having all of those people and bringing their individual creative influences and points of view to it is what really makes it work. So I was saying that the drums and the percussion really work as one instrument. They're all together, intertwined, and very complicated and complex. But to have that complex kind of drum pattern with the percussion there, you have to split that one person's role, because there's no rig for somebody to put a drum set on. You have to split that down into the individual people. But it's a big benefit to have the other people there as well, and it's just fun having them there as well.
Right. So we're broadcasting from America. You guys are in the UK. I would assume, as a lot of you, do you do gigs? Do you have shows? Do you have anything booked? We do have a viewing in the UK. Any gigs lined up?
Yeah, we have. We've got the Krampus event in 2nd of December, which is in Whitby. It's going to be a great event. During the day, you're going to have all the Krampus people all dressed up and all the activities, and then they'll be having the live acts in the evening, which we'll be part of.
Yeah, Whitby. I don't know if you ever heard of Whitby. You ever heard of that place in Yorkshire?
No, I haven't.
Okay,
well, it's where they wrote Bram Stoker's.
Yeah, Bram Stoker's Dracula was written there, and it has a reputation as being a very ethereal, spooky place. It's got a whole load of history relating to vampires and ghosts and all these things. So people from all over the world travel to Whitby because of the Bram Stoker relation. And they hold lots of various different events in that place, which are to do with everything on the sort of more unusual side of entertainment here in the UK. And this festival has come across from Austria, which is, you know, it's an old European tradition that has now been instated in the UK for about the last 10 years. And taking that, it fits in perfectly with the other things that they do in Whitby. And therefore they contacted us because they'd heard our music and said, we want you to come and be a part of this, because it really does fit together. So all being well, it will be a receptive audience of unusual, like-minded people.
So, like, there's vampires that are going to come hang out with
No. There will be people dressed in gigantic, bizarre, furry Krampus costumes. You know what Krampus is? You hear the Krampus?
Oh, yeah. Absolutely, man.
Right. So there's going to be a ton of people dressed as Krampus parading through the streets, acting like lunatics, and then there's going to be a huge ball where they're going to get, obviously, all of these people together, and we're going to play live music, and there'll be drinks and festivities. But because of the connection to Bram Stoker's Dracula, that's why it attracts so many unusual things to the area. But there might be a vampire or two, who knows?
Whitby is pretty much the, I guess, goth capital of England.
Yeah, I think you could call it that.
Yeah.
Yeah, they have lots of different festivals and activities throughout the year.
Uh-huh.
So as far as the songwriting process goes for your band, it's y'all three.
Yes, yeah. The music is primarily written between me and Marie, and vocals and the lyrics are Matt, and we kind of work it between us.
3's the magic number.
Yeah, you start out with an idea that gets roughly discussed, a concept, a direction, a feeling that we want to go in, and Kliff and Marie will put something down in that area, and then obviously, you know, as it is with many people, it gets bounced across to me. I will ruminate on that and think on it, send across an idea, and then collectively, when we all get together and we're doing rehearsals and stuff, the other guys will be chiming in, throwing their angles on stuff, and it just sort of evolves naturally from that seed. And we've got a really good group of people that are all working together to sort of, you know, twist it into this eventual product at the end, which, you know, is hopefully things that people are getting something out of.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So if I might ask, can each one of y'all introduce yourself and kind of tell me what you play in the band?
I think that's an excellent question. Well, I'll start because mine is simple. My name is Matt, and I write the lyrics and do all of the vocals in the band. So anything that you're hearing vocally, that comes from me, and obviously all of the lyrics as well, they get written by me. So that's not really a shared process at the moment, but it might be in the future.
Right.
Yeah, I'm Kliff. I play varied instruments, lyres, bowed lyres, jaw harps, bull roarers, different types of percussion, more harpers.
Taggle harper.
Taggle harper.
Anything with a harper on.
Pretty much everything.
Yeah.
Marie. I play the Kravic lyre, the Anglo-Saxon lyre. I also do a little bit of percussion here and there.
And you're currently learning the cornex.
I'm currently learning the cornex, which is basically a Celtic war horn. It's tricky, and the neighbours hate me, but I will carry on.
That'll be on the second album.
That will be on the second album. Also, a hurdy-gurdy as well, so that should be fun.
Yeah.
That's pretty much it for me. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm Reese. I played like the traditional kind of floor tom type large bass drums that kind of give that low bass end to the songs. As part of the percussion group that we've got going here, part of the one of the three drummers, really. There we go.
I'll switch over.
Come on, Sean.
Hey, I'm Sean. I play the log and bones, but that kind of sounds a little bit boring. So about 10 minutes before we came on with yourself, I coined the term carrion percussion, which I think I'm going to roll with because it does sound a lot more interesting. But any ticky-tacky or clicky-clacky that you can hear on the tracks is that would be me. Go, Will, go. Go. All right. Oh, this is weird. Right, so I'm Will. I am the frame drummer, or the hand drummer, magick, and that's the thing I do. So not doing a game show.
Short and sweet.
Will's great.
That's everyone.
That's all six of us. Yeah.
Okay, I got a question for the bone instrument.
Oh no.
Sean, grab your bones, Sean.
Yeah, that's me.
So is that a thing, man? Crummy bones is like what the band calls you and stuff, and the fans and
Well,
stuff.
it started out. I started out as the log man. And then I was given some bones. I essentially joined the band with no musical experience whatsoever. I kind of joined because Matt shanghaied me one night and said, "Do you want to join this band? You'll be playing a log and bones." And I very drunkenly at this point went, "Yeah, that's not a problem at all, man. I'll join in and play along. Why not?" And then 6 months down the line, he went, "So, do you remember that question? Do you want to jump in on the band?" And I again went, "Yeah, sure." And he went, "So, yeah, what was it you said to me? You were
the festival.
Yeah, you said, "Oh yeah, we've got a festival to play in about 2 months, so you need to learn all of the songs and know everything." But yeah, that's me. I've got some deer leg bones and some sticks, and that is that's me, man.
You'll have some
And,
antlers soon.
I'll be getting some antlers soon. There'll be a whole plethora of clicky clacks and ticky tacks for me to muck around with.
I was going to ask what kind of bones they were, and you answered it. You said deer bones. Is there
As far as I'm aware, they are deer leg bones.
any specific reason why you chose deer bones?
None particularly, although we are having some issues at the moment with bones. It turns out that they aren't meant for the kind of force that we apply them to when we hit things.
No, Sean.
And
You're just brutal.
Yeah,
You're
I may be a little bit over enthusiastic with them, so we are currently going through bones at a rate that I don't think a butcher could keep up with.
It's all them anger issues.
We're going to try and find something a little bit more substantial in the future.
Human bones.
I think that's kind of cool. I don't know, what mainstream, people would think about that, but you never know.
You're not mainstream.
I really like the fact that your band is drawn upon traditional instruments. It's, to me, traditional meaning old school instruments, from a long time ago. And I think, I hate to say it, but I think that, there are some American pagan musicians that, utilize some of the older instruments, but not the whole thing, man. You guys are like 6 of y'all with like old school instruments. I think it's very, very traditional. I want to ask y'all about your spirituality, and it can be anybody that wants to talk about it. You don't have to, or we could just go like all of y'all like you did before. Where did your spirituality come from? Individually.
I come from a very animistic kind of place. It's quite simple. I kind of believe in what I can see. Like, I know it sounds hippie nature, but it's true. The universe and that symbiotic relationship that we do have with nature, and I think for me it all comes down to that. It's simple animism. It's just pure, I guess. Yeah.
I do share the animistic stuff myself. I'm a bit of an eclectic pagan, I suppose you could call it. I'm very much into Germanic heathenry, but I'm also into certain elements of Celtic as well, which I draw into.
Mm-hmm.
I Ever so often I will do rituals. I've been part of actually some of our instruments, funnily enough. The log that Sean uses, we got from the woodlands. It wasn't cut down, it wasn't taken from a tree. It was one that found, it jumped out at me. I did an offering to receive it, to take from nature. So I was giving something back. You know, I am, I do feel connected with nature. But but mostly it's a Celtic and Germanic mix for me.
Yeah, I think I would echo quite a lot of what Kliff's just said. Spiritually, I don't follow a set out path, a path that's written by other people. I'm very much into ancestor worship and the concept of honoring my ancestors. And as a result of that, the gods with which they gave offering to and which they had as the important, sort of the most important thing to them was to be worthy in their God's eyes. And because that was the gods of my ancestors, that's where I, fall into that. And in all honesty, the concept of being of an island and being of this place and having their blood running in my veins and their gods, that's really important to me. So this whole island is completely covered in ancient monuments. It's got Stonehenge, it's got burial mounds, it's got all of these things which are stretching back over thousands of years. And if you go and wander through the landscape here, it's impossible not to feel connected to it. And so for me, my interest in the particular gods, being Woden and Thunor and Ing and Freya and all of these, that comes from that being part of my ancestors' daily lives. And I would say that I don't, again, follow anything that's linear. I do it in my own way, but I'm taking on board all of these other things that are coming from history and from things around me and elements of the animism, which is, of course, woven into the historical culture and story of my ancestors. So that's the big thing for me.
Yeah, really? All right.
Do you want to have a go?
Yeah, I'll have a go. Right, so I'm into the Western ceremonial sort of path. I'm more in sort of, I'm verging more on sort of demonology, that sort of thing. Completely different to the other guys. That's like cool because we all do our own thing. It's kind of like the first book that I found in the library was a Waite's book of black magic, and like finding that was just blew my mind. It was a case of so these entities exist, and it was just like amazing. So like sort of experimented with stuff along the line, but as well as that, it's kind of, I don't know how to explain it, but it's more of a case of I'm open to whatever wants to speak to me. I've had some awesome experiences in life, so it's kind of like great. And I think you need to be open. I'm not like purely demonology, but it's whatever entity wants to speak to me. And it's kind of the experiences spiritually that you go through are just immense, profoundly just mind-blowing, and it's hard to like put your sort of finger and sort of really express the ideas of when you get into the spiritual path, where it takes you, what speaks to you and who you speak to is just like incredible. So it's like fantastic. So this is like great being on this channel because it is a case of like we all come from different paths and we all have different experiences, and it's great that we all have our own like tales and experiences, and it's great stuff. So that's my jam. Anyways, next.
Back again. Sorry, man, shoving you foot. So I'm more the boring realist of the group. I'm not a particularly spiritual person, but for me it was just really interesting to try and like recreate a little bit of history, something that meant something, where we've come from over the years. Like music is like one of the great. What's the word I'm looking for?
Instigators.
Yeah, it's like one of the... no, it's not the word I'm looking for. But thanks for throwing it my way anyway.
Rollos.
Sure. I can't think of the word that I'm looking for. No, it's gone. But yeah, no. Essentially, for me, it was just more about trying to bring a little bit of history back to life and trying to throw that out there for people to hopefully listen to and enjoy. So that's it for me, really.
Elise, you got anything to add?
No, not really.
No.
That's all of us for the moment. Spirituality.
So is it safe to say that Galdorcræft, bunch of heathens?
Yes.
Well,
In a nutshell.
So we'll go with that. Heathenry, very, very popular in the United States, also the UK. What are some inspirations for other musicians or bands in the UK or abroad for the band itself? Is there like a favorite band that you guys collectively all agree that they rock, anything like that?
I would say when it comes to the inspiration for the music, I actually try to stay away from other bands and other artists. When I'm writing music, I won't listen to what other people are doing because I don't want to be influenced. I want to pick up my own vibrations.
music can get watered down.
Yeah, we could get inspiration. Nature's a great way of inspiration. You could have the rain coming down and the rain just dropping, hitting the floor in a certain rhythm as actually giving inspiration for a particular beat structure.
Yeah, we go out, we harvest, we harvest sounds out of nature,
There's bands we love, but we don't like to directly allow that to be an influence into what we're doing. So I try and isolate myself away from that when I'm writing.
Yeah, I think it's fair to say that all of us are trying to create a unique sound, but clearly there are other bands which are doing things with their own cultures and with their own histories. Examples of those would be like Heilung, for instance. They have got Germanic influence. There's also Scandinavian Norse influence
Celtic
in there,
as well.
Celtic influence as well. They're drawing on many different nations, many historical accounts, and they're sort of blending that all together. You've got Wudotun, which are clearly heavily influenced by the Norse version of the Germanic pagan path, and that comes through clearly. Obviously, that's the topic of their music, but it's got a different sound than obviously what we're trying to produce. Then you've got other people like Danheim and Forndam, and they're all using these sort of same ideas of taking the past and trying to draw that into the present and distill it into a modern product to get people to care about where they come from and all of the richness wrapped up in the history of their countries. But for us, there is nothing that runs parallel to what we're doing, because predominantly, obviously, we're talking about Anglo-Saxon history. We're talking about the Anglo-Saxon versions of the Germanic gods. And this is something which has been lost in what they refer to as the Dark Ages. There's not a huge amount of writing from this time period. There's not a huge amount that's left for us. We have the Anglo-Saxon Chronicle. We've got about 400 surviving scripts. And so what we're doing is saying, okay, we've got these influences which exist doing their own thing, and there is obviously going to be some parallels, but there's nothing that's ever focused specifically upon this Dark Age Anglo-Saxon time period with these gods and this way of life, which of course, although there's similarities, it's completely unique. And that's our main influence: the history, the nature, the spiritual beliefs of these people from our island. And that's what we're really trying to bring forward. So we don't allow it to influence us too much. Obviously, there's an element you can't get away from that. But yeah, if I was to say one band now, I'd have to say Wudotun as one of my favourite bands.
Definitely.
But I can also say that some of the influences come from all different areas and all different genres of music. Everyone has natural influence. We've been listening to music our whole lives.
Well, I mean, personally, we come from like that sort of, I suppose, that black metal scene.
Black metal and goth, yeah. So I've been in black metal bands, goth bands, punk bands in the past. So there's always going to be ingrained influence when you're playing something, and something's can be transposed from different genres. I suppose there is passive influence from other areas.
I mean, growing up in the 80s as kids, we're listening to, these British bands like, Iron Maiden, we're honoured to have such great metal bands in England. And then it's that natural progression into like that black metal Norwegian scene. And then it seems like a progression again into what sort of kind of we're doing, I guess.
Yeah, we do put that darker element in there that is weak.
Yeah.
Yeah. I never even think about other bands when I'm writing. I don't think anything about it.
That's what passive influence is about.
It's got to be passive.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's a really good answer about the inspiration. When you guys go to gigs and different festivals, and are some of them pagan festivals?
All of the interest comes predominantly in the UK from pagans predominantly. So we recently had one which was cancelled back in June, which was called the Burning Witch Festival, and the concept of that is about predominantly Wiccans and witchcraft, and the spiritual path, which is completely encompassing every different type of witch, whether that's solitary witches, hedge witches, and their concept is they want to try and break down the stigma which still sits around that. I mean, obviously we have a history here, as you do in the States, of the witch hunts where they're burning them and stuff. So that being the kind of people who are attracted to it, even though it's outside of the sphere of our music, it still fits, sort of there and thereabouts. So it's those kind of people which are interested in us. And obviously we're happy for it to be anybody from a pagan background or not. And that's the point. We want to get out there and have more people who are not from pagan backgrounds so they can start to learn a bit more about it. I mean, if they listen to our music and say, okay, what is the 9-herb charm? What's Neon Vartagaldo? What is that? And then they start reading some history about Woden and the rituals that they use to try and heal people, and then they're starting to look into medicine and what was used at the time, and we've just opened up a world of history and spirituality for them. So yes, it's people who are pagan who are interested, but we're also hoping to get outside of that as well, which I think is important.
Yeah.
Well, I got good news for you, man. Fringe TV is a pagan television station. When you get invited to these festivals and you're amongst the pagan people of your countryside, do you ever bump into spiritual leaders within paganism?
We have ourselves bumped into spiritual leaders in paganism. Last time we was in Manchester, there was a few.
When we went to see Heilung and
there was a few pagan priests, weren't there? I think we met 3 that night alone, just in the hotel.
I've met a good few Druid leaders, people who are quite high up in Druid orders. Predominantly, though, that's not at musical events. That's actually at events to take place at various different places like Avebury Stone Circle. It attracts a lot of Druids there when you're talking about the summer solstice, winter solstice, and you'll meet people there. Weirdly enough, as much as this country is steeped in paganism, it seems to still be quite few and far between. I mean, for instance, in the States, you guys, you've got vast different distances between your cities and etc. Here, it's just like a metropolis, and then you've got a small distance of countryside and then another one, but you rarely meet people who share the same outlook as you. Most people here are what you would just call traditional, normal people, and you can be anywhere really, and you can be the only pagan in a room. It is unusual. It is unusual.
It is on the rise. It's been building up.
It is on the rise.
In Burton-on-Trent now, they've actually got a church to Odin now.
That's in Burton.
Burton-on-Trent. Yeah. It's the first.
We've got to go there.
It's the first church of Odin to be built in England.
It's fantastic.
Since so.
But yeah, to answer the question, we do meet people, but it's not as often as we would like.
Mm-hmm. And I heard that they had a summer solstice with music performers at Stonehenge for the summer solstice just passed. Yeah. Would you guys be interested in jamming out at like the Stonehenge and stuff?
Oh, I'd love to perform there.
Yeah. It's the solstices here in Britain are actually quite a big thing, and that's both for pagans and non-pagans. They will just go and visit the sites, because if you take something like Stonehenge, for instance, that is so intrinsically wrapped up with the image of Britain and Britain's history. It's stood throughout all of the incredible events that we have had here, whether that's the Romans coming here, the Anglo-Saxons coming and creating England, Second World War, whatever it is. That monument has stood the test of time and been there. So it's so ingrained in the British consciousness. And to get to play at a place like that would be absolutely fantastic. I mean, if you've ever been to Stonehenge or Avebury, which are our 2 biggest Neolithic complexes, you will find the energy that runs through the place. Even if you don't believe in that stuff, you cannot ignore it, because it's across ley lines. The whole place is made of chalk, and it just feels special. So yeah, to play somewhere like that would be fantastic. So we're going to keep an eye on that. We'll be working towards it.
Yeah, I had to mention it because there's an American artist that went over to Stonehenge and they performed there, and I was just wondering if that was a possibility. When it comes to paganism and heathenry in the UK, what's the big town what's the big pagan town over there? Is there a big city of that's just infused with an abundance of heathens and pagans?
There's not one that I know of. As far as I'm aware, we're very much scattered. You've got different covens and little groups and communities that have been building up, but usually they're small, isolated groups. As far as I know, there is not one particular town where there's a concentration of them. There's events where they will all group up for different festivals, and you'll have hundreds of them together, but they are very much coming from all different areas, from their little pockets.
That being said, there are places which definitely embody pagan beliefs and the magic and folklore of the old British and Brythonic ways more than others. So, for instance, if you go to Cornwall's on the very tip of Great Britain, and that is a place which was never really taken over by the Romans, and it was never really colonized by the Saxons. They generally left the peoples alone. So the old Brythonic peoples who were here before any of these invasions in Wales and in Cornwall, they stuck to their old pagan ways. And when you go down there, you will find an abundance of pagan shops in places like Cornwall, and they'll be selling all sorts of things, and a lot of people gravitate towards there. So if I was going to say that there are more pagan sort of centered places, it's around where you've either got the large monuments and places where influences from outside weren't as effective. So yeah, Cornwall and Wales are definitely more pagan than a lot of other places, but just because of the lack of interference, and they feel it as well.
Also, as well as that, they've got the Museum of Witchcraft in Cornwall.
Yes, in Boscastle they have the Museum of Witchcraft, which I've visited. It's an excellent place to go. And again, if you stand in somewhere like Boscastle, it's a tiny little port. It's got a river which runs down into the sea, and this museum, which was obviously built originally on the Isle of Man by Gerald Gardner, and then it moved to Boscastle in Cornwall. The whole place just feels magic, and there's a lovely little pub there, a proper old pub with low beams called the Cobweb, and it's got a cracking pint of beer in there. But yeah, I would say Cornwall's your place.
So as far as the writing process, it's three y'all that are the writers of the lyrical compositions to the songs. What does the recording process look like for y'all? Do you have like a home recording studio? Do you go to recording studio? How does that work?
We're sat in it right now.
Yeah, we're sat in it right now. The recording process is all done right where we're sitting now, like we just said. I will. I'll create a dummy track, pencil in where everything needs to go. I'll record some primitive drums, some primitive percussion, just to get the bowed lyres down, or lyres, jaw harps, all the bits and pieces. And then Matt will do a dummy run of the vocals. We'll rehearse that. We'll work out any kinks, whatever. And then when we come back, that's when we'll start doing the proper recordings. So we've set up all the drums in here. We'll get all the drums down, all the logs down. Once we've done that, we'll re-record all the bowed lyres, all the lyres, jaw harps, and all the string instruments. And then you'll do a final take on the vocals as well, and to actually get a final version. But yeah, it's a bit to and fro, but it's all done right here.
Yeah, I would call it a back and forth process. It's a constant weeding process. So we're creating these original versions, and then everybody's listening to it. Are you picking something up, or I'm not happy with this? And then it's back to the drawing board and picking things out. And we also have a very open way of being able to discuss what's going on with the songs, and there isn't ego. And there isn't too much precious attitude, which is why we're able to get on so well and create what is hopefully really good music. Because if you're too precious, let's say we're all just together at one point in a studio and we're all just recording, and one person thinks something's great, another person doesn't think it's great, there's more likely going to be a conflict of interest. Whereas the process we go through, it's take your time and giving everybody a chance to listen and hear something, and then develop and build on top of that over a period of time. And we'll have multiple tracks on the go at once.
Oh, so. Yeah. It's all about the song, not the writers.
Yes, the song is the important thing. Very much so.
What would you say the overall slant or message of your last album was all about?
It's varied.
Every song is absolutely completely different, and we went in with that in mind.
Yeah, there's no particular concept. We've got the song, obviously Nine Herb Charms, very much spells. We've got a song about Penda, which is a historical. What do you call it?
Oh, it's a historical biopic, I suppose.
Yeah.
We basically wanted to write a song for everybody. So if you're not necessarily into this song because it's a little bit heavy, you might like that one. You know,
we've got spiritual songs, we've got historical songs, we've got songs just taken directly out of Anglo-Saxon literature.
Yeah. If there is an overarching theme that runs throughout it, predominantly it is overcoming some form of malady or adversity. You can hear that, whether that is in Barrow Sleeper or Ofala or the new songs that we've obviously been producing that haven't got released yet, because the album doesn't come out until the 31st of August. But there is a thread predominantly about taking these historical events which have some significance, for some reason they've stood out, or a period or a subject which has got something very significant, and we're trying to put that across in a way that gets people to think about it. I suppose if there is any thread for the album, it is just almost like a spiritual history lesson. Here's this important stuff, here's why it matters, listen to it. I think that's what we've done, really.
And music heals.
Yeah, there is healing in it.
Yeah.
There is healing in it.
Speaking of which leads me to my next question, and I always ask this when I interview pagan musicians, and anybody can answer, or individually, it doesn't matter. Do you feel that music is a form of magic? And if so, can you explain that?
Well, it's exactly it's the name of our band, Galdorcræft. That is literally what it means. It's creating magic through song and music and
vibrations, chanting.
The
words are magic, vibrations, musical vibrations. It's when we perform this music, it's not just music, it's magic intertwined.
There's intent
within that, and there's intent, and
there's hidden things in our songs that no one would ever know. I've used certain time signatures, certain bars or note orders with sacred numbers and all sorts interweaved in that you would never even ever pick up on.
Some people might.
Some people might. Yeah, if you're a nerd. Yeah, but it's there. But yeah, I do believe music is a part of magic. Even the Druids believe so. At one time, bards were considered a form of magic themselves. What they were doing.
Yeah. Well, for me, the word and the voice being my instrument, I think that the magic for me is in being able to write something and sing something, and then be able to create an emotion or a feeling or an image in someone's mind just using words. And the fact of the matter is words are extremely powerful, and to be able to craft a song in a certain way that will affect another person, that to me is just a base form of magic. That's an incredible thing to be able to do that, to touch people on the other side of the world just with words that I've come up with. That is one all of its own.
Change people's emotions.
Change people's emotions with that, make them feel better, make them feel all sorts of things. But in terms of there being something unknowable impregnated in music, every single one of us has listened to a song and it has had an effect on us which you cannot even begin to describe where it came from or why it came from. I think music is the highest form of art, and it is definitely a form of magic, 100%.
So it sounds like, you guys are in the UK, you guys are having fun. Looks like you guys are, laid back, a lot of laughs, a nice little band, but it seems like almost kind of like a family too. And my question is, that in itself can be very, very inspirational to, pagan musicians on the world stage. what would be your advice to upcoming musicians that are like, hey man, we should start a band, or I should get into pagan music? What would be your advice to them?
My advice would be don't talk about it.
Just do
don't
it.
think about it. Just do it. Diving.
It's all about the intention, If you can dream it, it can happen. Nothing is unrealistic. We just put them barriers in our heads. So.
But I think have a clear idea of why you want to do that before you do anything. Before you pick up any instruments, before you start writing, have a clear idea of why you want to do it. Because if you have a clear idea of what your motivation is, that will inform the rest of the decisions that you're going to make in terms of what kind of music you're going to make, how you're going to put it across, how you're going to record it, all of these things. If you think, oh well, I might jump on a bandwagon here and I'm going to make music about this kind of paganism because I think people might like it and it might make money, that's entirely the wrong approach.
You have to believe in what you're doing. You have to believe what you're doing.
I mean, even if when we started this, I had no idea, and neither did Kliff or Marie or anybody, that people would want to hear this. We just did it for us. Initially, entirely for us. And if nobody had listened to it, I'd have still enjoyed producing it and making it and carried on with that, because it's coming from a place of desire to make something because I felt it was necessary. We felt it was necessary to make it. If you've got a goal like that, go ahead and jump in and do it, because that's the purest form of motivation is really caring about something.
You got to be honest to yourself.
Yeah.
And go ahead.
Sorry, no, it was somebody clicking their fingers.
Okay, cool. So, my next question is kind of like, what's the next big thing for the band?
Well, yeah, second album, getting out to more unusual types of gigs and festivals. We've just had an offer from somebody to go and play at a medieval village, which is going to be pretty interesting. They're putting on their own event, and they've created this medieval village, and it's going to be, all being well, an acoustic set. That kind of thing is going to be great, because going there, being surrounded by not just people who want to hear your music, but surrounded by the kind of environment which you might have had people playing this sort of music in, that's going to be pretty inspirational. So getting to more unusual events, obviously getting our music out to a wider audience across the world, getting the interest from all over the place. I mean, we've got people in Brazil listening to our music, in Alaska listening to our music. That's fantastic. So pushing that further. And we've also bought a load of new instruments to really expand the sound. And we don't want to stagnate, we want to expand it. And the musical instruments that we've been using on this album, they are all within a certain key, because we've kept it historically accurate. That has had a limiting effect to some degree. And we're going to move out into the chromatic scale now by adding other things such as
hurdy-gurdies, lutes, the carnecks.
Yeah, and that's going to then give us a more expansive sound and allow us to, tackle on different subjects and all kinds of things. So it's basically, this is the seed, this is the foundation, this is the grounding that we've needed. We've put that down. Now we're just going to expand that sound, get it out there even further to people, play some weird events and have a lot of fun, hopefully.
And actually being able to hopefully be able to take our music to the people who have been supporting us.
Yeah, that's it.
Touring is a big thing I would like to move on to.
Yeah, get out and tour.
So the first thing that popped into my head when you said that you were going to go to this village, what's the village like? What's that about?
It's actually in construction at the moment.
Yeah,
It's like little film sets.
Yeah, they're filming there at the moment for some fantasy movie.
Nice.
And after they finish filming there, they're going to be running this event with all different performers, fire dancers, jugglers, and musical artists.
Yeah. So if you can imagine, it's going to be like literally playing in the middle of a medieval village. So that's going to be pretty interesting. Here in merry old England.
So do you guys have any music videos?
We will do. We're in talks at the moment to do a music video for the Nine, which I think we'll be filming in October. Yeah. So it's on the way.
Yeah, keep me posted, man. I'd love to play it.
Definitely. Yeah, we've got some great concepts for it, and we've hopefully got a good chap on board. And as soon as we've got that yeah, as soon as we've got it wrapped up, we'll give you a heads up. You can have a gander and see what you think. It'll be suitably strange, I'll tell you that.
Strange is good. You know, I can't get over the idea of I know that you have an idea for one of the music videos already, but I just can't stop thinking about shooting one at that village, man.
Maybe they'll let us. We can ask them. We can see. You've just got to go perform.
Or just some Ewoks.
Oh,
you know, it kind of reminds me of the end scene in Return of the Jedi, you know, with all the Ewoks and stuff. Like, maybe I can manifest it and it might happen, right?
We know Ewoks.
So where can we find your music at as of right now?
Right now we've got 4 tracks out, which is on YouTube, all major streaming platforms, Spotify, Amazon, the usual. But we have just wrapped up our debut album, which is out on all digital platforms on the 31st of August. And there will also be a physical copy, digipack, with a deluxe 20-page booklet, which will be available right about the same sort of time, which you can be able to buy direct from us, our web store, Amazon.
We tend to release things on full moons.
Yeah.
The past 4 singles were all released on a full moon,
Yeah.
and we're releasing this album on the blue moon.
Yeah, Blue Supermoon. That's August 31st.
Yeah.
So that's going to hopefully bring us all the good luck that we need. Fingers crossed it's going to help us shift some physical units as well, because with the CD as well, obviously it's got beautiful artwork that comes with it as well, designed by a couple of really nice artists, and it's got a really lovely booklet in there which includes all of the lyrics and the Anglo-Saxon as well, so people can have fun trying to pronounce the Anglo-Saxon words and sing it along. But it's a lovely package, so yeah, hopefully people will enjoy that.
20-page. Yeah.
Well, hey man, I really appreciate you spending some time with y'all. Y'all are some cool ass heathens, man. Do you have anything to say to your fans or your new fans that you're gonna rack right up, man?
Well, our fans are amazing.
Yeah, to be honest, we've had such a great response from the US. We get a lot of streams, a lot of support, a lot of very nice things. So hopefully one day we'll be able to come over and actually perform the music for you guys.
Yeah, we just want to thank everybody that's given us support and given the music a chance. You're never guaranteed whenever you're creating something that people are going to connect with it. And the response that we've had has been absolutely phenomenal. And you know, you're always taking a chance when you click on a new song, whether you're on YouTube or Spotify or whatever, you're always taking a chance that it's going to hurt your ears. And thankfully, our music hasn't done that. So what I'd like to say to anybody in the US who is listening and, you know, interested in our music, jump on. Do a little bit more research. Look at the subjects that we're talking about. Really bury yourself in it. Find a bit about your ancestry, and then come over to England and come and watch us play live, because I guarantee you'll love it. We'll have a pint of ale, a jug of mead, a good old sing-song, and you'll be having a good knees up. Come on.
Any guys who play D&D out there as well, like you fancy guys out there, play Galdorcræft while you're playing D&D. Awesome.
Yeah, we just want to thank everybody. It's been a great response, and thank you to yourself as well for having us on. We really appreciate it. We really do.